One.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Duluth Community Services District regular meeting of the Board of Directors on this date, February 22nd, 2023. This meeting is now called to order. Roll call, Bowman.
Here.
Carroll. Here. Alexandri. Rosta. Here. Roberts is here. Will everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Okay, our first item on the agenda is Agenda B, authorizing on-site and virtual board and committee meetings. Consideration and adoption of Resolution 22-22, authorizing on-site and virtual board and committee meetings pursuant to AB 361. Is there a motion to approve? Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Bowman.
Aye.
Carroll.
Aye.
D'Alessandri. Rossett.
Aye.
Roberts. Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you, everyone. And good evening to our special sheriff. And how are you, sir, today?
Much better, much better.
Good. We're glad to hear that.
Okay. First of all, I want to say, Happy New Year's and, Happy Valentine's Day. I missed you all last month, but
Yes.
I'm back healthy, thank God. Other things I want to cover that happened while the last couple of months. For that, I want to say, thank you for all the sending text messages and, calls regarding my health. So thank you once again. And, I'll try to give them the down low, what had transpired because, in my mind, how they say, when the cat's away, the mice will play. So I didn't want it to get up too much that I was in the area for that period of time. But once again, thank you very much for the call and text messages. It was interesting, but let me get to really quick. First, we had a lot of calls for service for suspicious vehicles, which is great. A lot of people call suspicious vehicles and persons. That led to arrests for like drugs and for warrants. So once again, keep doing that. As a matter of fact, I had one yesterday where I went to, that was crashed on his vehicle and lo and behold, the individual had suspected meth and drug paraphernalia. So people come out here to try to hide somewhere to do drugs or whatever. So once again, please continue calling regarding suspicious vehicles. Also, if you come into our district and you want to be disorderly, it's always good not to have warrants out for your arrest. Because when we contact you, we're gonna check. And lo and behold, one jail that have warrants out for their arrest, whether it be disorderly in our district. I mean, I kind of like it, but in terms of like, then they go to jail, but, no. Also, we had a stolen vehicle, on Duluth, that was ORV, a Polaris. It was recovered the following day, but unfortunately, the owner didn't register the vehicle. So we ended up towing it, and then the owner had to go through the process of registering the vehicle and then getting out of the tow lot. So it is possible to register your ORVs in California. So, and if you don't do that, it's always good to have a receipt or something. Like the one before that, someone stole a Kubota, and I went to Kubota and I found out who the property owner was. If it wasn't for that, we would never know who the property owner was. So please try to register your vehicle, or at least have proof of ownership or mark the item. In regards to what happened earlier in January, basically in a nutshell, we're starting to get hit again with avocado thefts. So our agriculture team, the county, got involved, and basically we deployed 8 deputies, our aviation unit, helicopter, and drones. And with those assets, we were able to capture 4 suspects. for grant theft. Among that, obviously, conspiracy, trying to evade police, resistant police, drug paraphernalia, and special drugs. So, and we also hit other wickets in terms of, we did foot pursuits, we did vehicle pursuits, and drones. So, and basically, it was basically a big effort to the county, to nab these individuals. We talked to people up in the hills, and my sources, they were pretty impressed in terms of the criminal element, ability to be deployed, and we're basically gonna make pretty sure that don't repeat or lose, and we'll be deploying more assets in the future also. So I think that's great. And people go to jail for penalties is a good thing in my opinion, especially when it comes to our district. So that's basically it. Do you have any questions from the board?
Yeah, other than job well done.
But like I said, it was great. The running through avocado fields and ravines and creeks, maybe feel my age there for a second. But at the end, we visited individuals and to custody was a great feeling.
Good.
So, thank you for my report. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We're glad that you're feeling much better and back out in the fields. Thank you very much. Ladies, I wanted to go back. I did make an error in terms of the resolution on agenda B. It should have been number 2302. So just wanted to have that reported. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Deputy. Okay, moving on to public comments, agenda D. Isabel, do we have any Zoom? No, none. Okay, and it appears we don't have any visitors here today, correct? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on. Agenda E, legislative topic, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Evans.
We have with us, from our law firm, Cyrus, oh, I just wrote Cyrus, I can't remember. Devers, that's right. He's been with us before, so he's becoming a familiar face. He's working on the issue with, Cal Recycle. So, I'll turn it over to him to hear what he's been up to for the last 30 days since we saw him last.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, Chair and members. So I thought it was appropriate to give you guys an update because we kind of kept our cards close to the vest last time, and it's kind of time to go public now. So we are doing a bill on behalf of Duluth CSD with Senator Kelly Sarto, and I don't have the bill number yet, but the language isn't public yet either. But essentially, what we're doing is we're taking the Cal Recycle regulations, which say you're exempt from the collection requirements for organic waste if you dispose of less than 5,000 tons in 2014, or you have a population or have a population less than 7,500. Now they went on to put these qualifications on them that excluded Duluth from getting the exemption. We're just going to take the language and put it in a bill and say you're exempt if you're less than 7,500 population or disposed of less than 5,000 tons of waste in 2014, period, without the qualifications, and put it in a statute. So we've got a really warm welcome from Senator Sarato's staff. They're enthusiastic. They feel like we've got good background information. We've got Cal Recycle in an email saying, yeah, okay, you're qualified, and then trying to walk it back and say no because we've got these conditions that don't work. So we're feeling pretty confident. We're kind of, I personally have a hard time seeing how they're going to argue against essentially the language of their own regs, only without these extra qualifications that disqualify you guys with no sound basis. So we're public, we're out there now. By the next meeting, we should have, we'll have a bill number, we'll have kind of a progress report of meetings that we're starting to undertake. We might even have a projected hearing date by the time this rolls around this time next month. But that was it. It was just kind of like, pull the cover back saying, okay, it's official, we're doing a bill. And we got to send a bill, it's headed your way. So that's really what I wanted to brief you guys on, let you know, see if you got any questions. And if you do, I'm here for you. Otherwise, that was really just.
The issue was never the regulation. The issue was how we were, our population was associated with Temecula and Murrieta. How does the legislation help us if they come back and say, well, that's fine, but you don't qualify because you're part of Temecula?
Right. So the way they did that, they said, okay, you have to be less than 7,500 population, but you also have to be in a census tract, which has less than 75 people per square mile. So you're less than the population. Oh, but you're in a census tract with Temecula. So we're just stating the population number without that extra census tract language, without that association to population per square mile, which is irrelevant. So it's just we're dropping off the irrelevant part and just keeping the part that's relevant, which is you have a population, and therefore this is not economic to this program. But that's how we're going to do it. We're just dropping that census tract language. It won't be a part of the statute. And I should add, if you put it in statute, a state agency is therefore not privileged to add to it or qualify it. In other words, they have to abide by the language, the plain language of the statute. And if the statute doesn't say and a census tract with 75 people per square mile, they cannot then add that if it's in statute. So that would be the effect of the bill. It would nullify those extra qualifications that they tried to add on.
Okay.
Any other questions, board members?
What's the likelihood of this passing?
Yeah, crystal ball gazing, but all I can tell you, right, I don't know. I can't really even speculate because it's tough to take on a state agency, but we have such a good argument. So, I mean, if we've got this background information, that's just the proverbial smoking gun. And so that really, I'm very encouraged. And if it wasn't for that, I'd say this would be a, pretty tough hill to climb, maybe not possible. But with that background that we've got, it's pretty persuasive. And I think it's going to allow us to really reach across partisan aisles and move this along. But I can tell you what, if you ask me that question in 30 days, I'll have a much, much, much better answer. Right now, it's just all speculation because we really haven't engaged the enemy yet. So, it is battle. It is with battle plans and engaging the enemy.
Very true. Any other questions? Jim, anything you'd like to add? All righty. Thank you very much for the input, and we look forward to having an update at the next meeting. Thank you.
And I look forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, we're on to agenda item F, information only, and these items are intended again for information purposes only, and they are the finance statement, statement of investment policies. Directors, any comments or questions? No, none at this time. Okay, very good, then we'll move on. And that will be agenda G, consent calendar. And this includes minutes of the January 18th, 2023 regular board meeting, general fund claims for January 2023, sheriff's special tax claims for January 2023, and there are no purchase orders. Any questions, directors?
No.
No? Motion to approve?
Okay.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Bowman?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
DeAlessandri? Rawson?
Aye.
Roberts? Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to H, Buena Vista Reconstruction Project. Mr. Stein.
Thank you. All right, and I have the presentation itself is short. In your agenda packet, there's a lot of, all the meat and potatoes kind of in there of what's been happening. So we can start and set this all up once we get that on the screen there. All right, and you can go to the next slide whenever you get a chance, Jessica. And just to give you an update on Buena Vista, we've seen the pattern that's been going on. I don't think I'm telling anyone anything they don't know, where it's been kind of on and off rain basically since December. So we've had the heavy rain in December and January, heavy enough to where FEMA even declared a presidential disaster during this time. So it's just been a larger amount of rainfall than anyone could have anticipated. So it's been, right now, we've been in a vicious cycle of just 1 week of rain and then 1 week of trying to let it dry out, getting the tail end, they do a couple days work and it just gets washed out. This has been going on for about a month and a half now. And finally, the contractor reached out to us, and he sent us a letter, and that letter is actually attached to a letter that we responded to in the agenda items there. Basically requesting a suspension of the contract. And the way that works is, per the Green Book, there's a specification language that states that, and you can go to the next slide, Jessica, that states that basically it's section 6-6, which allows a temporary suspension if it is approved by the engineer of record, but the district engineer, that would be myself right now. They brought it forth and they made their case basically saying that it's basically not safe for them to be working out there. And speeds are just too high. There's a lot of extra confluence points from the hillside that a lot of water is running off. And I know if anyone looked out that window these last couple of months, it's just been a lot of heavy rain that we're not used to out here. So it's been tough, but they have been keeping their VMPs maintained. They've been doing all that they can. It's just right now, there's just too large of a volume of water that has been coming down. And now we've been following, since the committee meeting last time was it rained on the 14th, day of the committee meeting, and then it was expected to rain the 19th and the 22nd, which it's raining right now. It rained on the 19th, and now I'm looking at the schedule moving forward. It's supposed to rain from the 22nd to the 26th, and also the 28th to the 1st. So I know if you're reading the letter that I sent out on the 6th, we're going to reconvene with the contractor and basically discuss in a meeting on March 1st, whether it's going to be good to restart. We're still going to have that meeting. Based on the rain forecast right now, I think it might be a little too early to jump on restarting that. But the way the suspension works is kind of, right now the contract's suspended and it's suspended, indefinitely is probably not the right word, but until basically we agree that it's good terms to come back and they're going to be not just getting all their progress washed out and actually able to make good progress on the project. One thing I do want to point out is, you can see this in their letter. They're going to do this at no additional remobilization costs. There's basically no additional costs that are going to be associated with this. And not only that, they are also going to be responsible for maintaining all the BMPs, all the erosion control during that time. So after any heavy rainfall, they have to go back out and maintain that. So the good thing about that is it gives them an incentive to want to get out of this project, to finish this job. So we're not just sitting there because it's harder to work right now or anything like that. They want to get in and out, of course, and get on to their next project. But right now, it's not the time to do it. It's just been too much rain. And based on what they presented and just what our inspector Rod has seen out there, it seems like this is the best course of action. So we did issue that suspension request on February 6th. And, as I was saying, the plan is to reconvene on March 1st, and we're still going to meet with them on March 1st. But right now, we may need to just check in bi-weekly or weekly, just to wait and see when the best time to go is. But the main point here is that there's going to be no additional cost to the project based on this, and they will be making sure that all their erosion control is in place, nothing additional is washing downstream, and they're making that basically that work site is still their responsibility. So right now, it's even though it is a time delay, there's really no impact in any other manner of that phase. So that's basically what we've been going on with that. It's unfortunate. I know this has been our favorite agenda item for the last year and a half, 2 years now, but we are working. I do feel this is in the best interest of both the district and the contractor, just the project as a whole. So I guess with that, I can open up any questions that anyone might have on
Any
that.
potential environmental impact here that could further delay the project?
Not as far as timeline, we're not adding anything, but because they did, per the environmental permit, we are required that during the work zone, we have to have these erosion control being out there, so they are maintaining them. The only potential would be if they're not properly maintaining them, which, our inspector Rod, he's been periodically checking up on that site and multiple other various tasks throughout the district. Now he's been a very busy man this last couple months, but that's one of his tasks, to go in and just check and make sure that they are doing their part. But talking with them, South Bend Paving, even though they've been given a raw deal right now, just with the rain and everything, I think they are doing a great job of maintaining it and trying to do what they can. It's just been a difficult time for paying forward. But that's the only environmental impact, no schedule impacts. The permit's good for at least a year. Then we have to renew it, and I think it's, get the exact date, but it's at least 3 years.
One other question is that I hate to bring this up.
No.
That is, since this is a declared an emergency, is there any FEMA implication here?
Not yet, but we're monitoring it closely. There was a presidential declaration which enables us to do emergency work at higher higher limits, which the next three we talk about.
Right.
They're all in that category. But so some aspects of the declaration give us a lot more ability to get emergency work done quicker. And the costs I talked about. But when it comes to the FEMA money, they are doing it on a county by county basis.
Okay.
So, so far, the counties that are in the money are those that are central state, more
Yeah, right.
coastal.
Right.
And it makes sense from the news and this and that. But I keep my eye on, when I check Galilee, click on it once in a while, just to see if there's been any change. This next week could change that. So,
Right.
but
The reason I hesitate to bring it up is because of my prior experience times two with the FEMA and the delay. You know, because they insist on work being done before and they have to approve it and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the question would then be, would there be a huge delay if we were to pursue FEMA funds?
well, one of the concerns when these three projects we're going to talk about came up as emergencies essentially, is we're documenting everything as if it were a FEMA project.
Okay,
There's nothing, what I've been looking for is a form to fill out like we had to do last time,
Right.
that it starts the ball rolling. That has not presented itself yet, and there is no process yet for that to happen.
okay,
But by us getting the work finished, and these three projects are finished now, we've documented everything that we know to document, which if they do open up the funding to under the presidential declaration,
Right.
is the floods of 2023, something like that. It's very broad. But the funding part of it is broken down by counties. But that umbrella is there. And so I guess I'm not looking forward to it. We are prepared
okay.
that so far we've done everything. That's why like I'm using Raj to
Right.
inspect this. Using professional companies to actually do the work. A lot of documentation. I've been reporting on it at each meeting, committee meeting, board meetings. That's why it's on your agenda. So I think we're in a good position to obtain that funding, should it open up. And as far as environmental, that was a good question, because, it's washed out 3 times.
Right.
That could be an environmental issue.
Right.
However, that's really been taken out of our hands, as I understand it, because one of the big delays was to get the permit from the California Water Board. So they're basically running that show. So they're supposed to be, inspecting if there's a complaint or whatever. They would come out and give us the direction, right?
Yep.
As to, you've got to make this, change this,
Right.
Yeah,
whatever.
I just want to kind of interject, even though it's washing out, their erosion control is still catching it before it reaches any
Okay.
adverse effect downstream, but even though that's why they have those BMPs,
Okay.
so it's not adversely washing out. Sorry to,
Like a downstream resident, if they had some concern, they then could call state water board, and they have jurisdiction to investigate and then
Right.
tell us to correct it.
Well, the thing that concerned me when you said it was being washed out, I was concerned that maybe something downstream could become a problem for us with this. But I
have it
appreciate
all dammed up.
you explained it. That's fine. I understand.
All the precautions are there, so, okay, very good. Anything you want to add?
So when's it gonna be done?
That's a big question, mark, several.
That's the one,
Thank you.
worst. Yeah, there we go, that'd be a perfect day for this job.
We just guys, obviously, just haven't had a whole lot of luck there lately. I'm sure that will be changing. Okay, very good. Thank you for that report, but we will be staying with you now, Mr. Stein. And we're going to move on to Agenda I, the 22 Annual Pavement Rehabilitation Project. Any other final
All right, perfect. So for agenda, I start with the slurry 22, and you'll see that in your packet, we have the staff report basically for the notice of completion, basically summarizing the project. And there's also the notice of completion that would be filed with the county. And basically that staff report is telling us, the summary of the budget costs, and I have everything kind of up here. It's basically all major work was completed and accepted by the inspector on January 30th, 23. So it was just recently done, but then even after that, the only thing that was waiting on the last picture we showed, everything was basically complete for the last 2 months. It was just waiting on striping to be completed basically, and they finally got right enough weather to do that, because that's only a 2-day operation. And then in between that time, when they were waiting on striping, and just recently, I was actually figured this out, I think basically after the day at the committee meeting, basically, Rod said, after he was driving to inspect this work, he found out some, there was some couple, we call it punch list items, which is the last checklist, basically, the contractor needs to do to close out the project. So just recently, even after it was all, completed, we saw a couple areas that were rattling up a little bit. So Raji, being the guy he is, he jumped in even at the committee meeting and said, hold up, I got a couple things that I noticed on my last drive around. And so right now, we're working with the contractor that we have a few set punch list that has been provided to the contractor. They said they're gonna get out there to do it, of course. Kind of showed you the rain schedule for the next couple of days. So they're gonna find the best time to go out there and redo that area. There's no complaints there. They understand, that's their responsibility on little items that have been coming up. So it's good. It's, kind of working out, we catching that while we still have this, because the whole point of when we file this notice of completion is we release that 5% retention that we hold to make sure, the work's in good order. So it's been, it's actually working out the way it's supposed to right now. So the big thing now is, and I'll just kind of go through just before I get too far ahead of myself, the fiscal impact on this one, we went through this a couple months ago. Basically, the original contract amount was $943,402.12. And even with all the additional work and added limits that we added, we still came in with a cost savings of $21,827, leaving a final contract amount of $921,574. So all in all, it's been a great project. It's gone really, really well. American Asphalt South did a great job out there, just moving around, and our inspector Rob has been working with them with all that. But and even with this last couple of punch list items, they're very cooperative. I've seen their response. They want to get out there and make sure that everything is done correctly. So basically, what this motion is going to be, or I don't know the most specific motion, but the staff report, basically my recommendation is that we accept the project as it is, and then the direct staff to file the notice of completion. But there's one caveat here is that because we don't want to wait a full month to be able to file this notice of completion. So I think we could say we file this notice of completion pending that all the punch list items get done with. It's a small list, but important list. So if we could give approval to, once that punch list item has been satisfied, then we can go ahead and file a notice of completion. So we don't waste a whole nother month holding up the money for them. So that's kind of the minor caveat there. That would allow us to, again, item number 3, authorize staff to release that 5% retention, basically of $42,410. So that's kind of the recommendations right now. So yes, that's concludes my report on that right now. I guess again, if anyone has any questions on the staff report or what we would be doing with the notice of completion.
We also reviewed this at the engineering committee, and it was our recommendation that we exactly, along those lines, and with staff approval.
Okay, all righty, so is there a motion to approve the engineering staff recommendations as spelled out here and verbally also by Mr. Stein? Do I hear a motion to approve?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, Bowman.
Aye.
Carroll.
Aye.
Dealessandri. Rawson. Aye. Roberts. Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you very much. Great
Thank you.
job. Great job. Okay, moving on. Agenda J, emergency repair projects. Mr. Evans and
Jay is going to be helping with this item. Yeah, I share this item.
Okay,
I guess I'll just read off, it's come up previously, that we have had emergency, what we define as emergency repairs. During the last month, since the time of the board met, we've reviewed these projects also with the engineering committee. And essentially, these came about like most emergency repair projects. Someone calls our office, says there's a pothole, sinkhole, something or other. We dispatch the crew. The crew begins to evaluate what the problem is, makes an effort to repair it in the field. And these three crossed over that line where it became much bigger than what was originally reported. So all three cases here, we immediately got proposals from, in one case, pavement repair company or paving company. The other construction company, which we used a year ago on one of our major projects, and they're local, and we're able to respond immediately. So we're going to just kind of share with you these projects and what was done. DJ, you can, why don't you take it from here and explain how it started? And then what happens, you hear that they're out looking at a pothole, and then the radio on back is more, and then before long, they're here at the office, you know, this is a lot more. And, you know, what do we had to do? And we just stepped through it. But basically, TJ is the coordinator of all that. So I'll let him explain these three projects.
All right, thank you.
fine.
It's actually, the board has the picture.
Yeah, we have all the pictures.
Because we're a weather interference.
And we'll just do it verbally.
So, this picture you can see, the excavators in the back right there, trying to clear out the outlet side. So that way, we can get water to flow out the outlet and clear all that shrub, just so water is not being blocked. So that way it can just keep flowing down the stream with no resistance, basically.
Now, this is Santa Rosa.
Yes, via Santa
And this
Rosa.
is roughly via Porca.
Yeah.
And can you explain just generally what the project was?
Yeah,
There
so.
was two culverts and.
Yeah, there's two culverts that were completely rusted and had holes in them, which is why that sinkhole formed at the top of the road. We first had it get pumped out with water, so if we could even see the top of the hole, maybe just possibly patch the top of the culvert. We also put a water jet through both ends of the culvert to clear out debris and to see what the condition of the culvert was. But it was completely rusted, so it was basically we needed to replace the ASAP.
This concern was that on the asphalt, with vehicles driving over that, once we had cleaned the pipe, and there's nothing much left of the pipe.
Right.
It could,
Right.
we could have major emergency pop up.
I believe you mentioned in committee that there were two culverts, separate culverts under the road. While you were cleaning one out, the water was coming out of the other.
Correct, yeah. So like
Completely
culvert,
eroded between and.
yeah, there was like some erosion in the middle, so it kind of made its way to the other pipe, so it was basically making its path into the other pipe, so it was basically only one usable pipe at that point.
Right.
Did you have to close the road?
Yes.
Traffic?
Road was closed for about a week and a half.
But there was a
Detour.
detour that
Yes.
was reasonable, wasn't much distance.
Yes.
And we had a plate over that for
Yes.
most of the time. Okay, so essentially, we tried to clean the culverts. And then when it was determined there wasn't much left of the pipe, that's when I met with the people from Marietta who had been helping us, jet the pipes, et cetera, and said, what do we do here? And they said, we've got to put in the 100-year pipe now, which is a rubberized material, because there's no other alternative. And so, signed a contract with them, and they came in, basically took it, cleaned everything out from both sides of the road. Lifted pipes out, put new pipes in, used some kind of a slurry.
Yeah, they would use the slurry base to cover the pipes. And then, after the slurry base, they came in with the asphalt layer. So, here's the steel plates in the second picture. That's where that hole was. Which I saw. Let's see what else. This is just a third picture right here in the bottom. It's basically showing the equipment that they have out. It's showing that we have the road closed with those signs.
But that truck wasn't over the culvert, was it?
No. No. That was just parked there because that little that hose right there is the water jet. So they were trying, you can't see them, but they're in there shooting water through it, yeah, blowing it out. So this truck, the truck right here on page 3, that's the jet truck, and it also has a vacuum as well. So they're also basically shooting water through the pipe and also vacuuming it up at the same time to get that debris out of there as best they could.
Basically, what started out as a fairly simple sinkhole ended up being a complete culvert replacement.
Yeah.
I hear the beach.
Page 4, again, you can see that excavator in the back. We might have got most of that debris out of there. And one thing that we actually did, we came over there like a day or two before they did, because there was a big buildup of just dirt and weeds, and we actually cleared that out with our skid steer to help save some costs as well. So, so they did the rest in the back, basically. This bottom picture right here, again, that's the hose that they have in the pipe, trying to break up all that debris as best as they can and get that flushed out so we can see the condition of the pipe. Again, some more pictures of them flushing it out as best they could and getting that debris out of there. Here you can see a little bit better of the pipes. They're a little dirty, but kind of tell that they're rusty. They also we're pulling out there was a bunch of wood chunk pieces that you can see a little bit in the bottom. They're also pulling that out. So that's what was all clogged up in the pipe as well, which wasn't obviously not good. It blocks the water from the flow and it just sits there. Top picture, again, blowing out the pipe with the water jet. And the bottom picture is that the outlet side. As you can see, there is some water starting to flow, so they did get a pretty good amount of debris out of there. And this would be Volta Grande. This was
The sinkhole began as a sinkhole. We thought we could handle it with our own crews.
yeah,
How much material did we purchase for
17 tons.
17 tons for $700 or something? And then they installed that and needed about 5 more loads. And at that point, we said, stop everything. And then the Raj got out there and the Marietta came out there. It had undermined, how many feet in distance?
I believe it was about 1,000 feet.
Yeah. It was a long
They
distance.
needed about 17 truckloads of dirt. So,
And so that was accomplished on a Saturday where we could get the dirt without having to move in line.
Okay,
It
yeah.
would have been 3 days to bring that kind of material in.
Mhm.
So they did it all on one Saturday.
Yeah.
And
It was-
basically backfilled under the pavement. And one section of pavement, I think that's what we responded to originally.
Yeah.
It looked like, I say, like a crust of a pie, that asphalt just laying 3 or 4 feet down.
Mhm.
And it looked like somebody, maybe a trash truck had gone over it or something. But it became clear it was way too big for us.
Uh-huh.
And then as time went on, it was very dangerous in terms of, that's a lot of film.
Mhm.
And it took a lot of years. So it's too bad we didn't catch that in 19.
Yeah.
Because most likely it was there then.
Jim, didn't we check all the culverts and drains over a year ago?
Yeah.
How did we miss this?
Well, you're out
It
there.
was on the replacement list, yes. This was one of them.
That was one of those 17 bad ones.
Yes.
So we've known about it, I guess. But I don't know why we didn't do this repair.
Well, that's right, that's the question.
I don't know. Don't know.
Maybe it's worth looking at how we examine these things and
It was-
classify them.
It was different people and different, so, if we hadn't had personnel changes, I could ask, or
Yeah.
you could ask, or anybody could ask what went wrong here.
Right.
Because this didn't just happen.
That's correct.
So it was there, and I don't know, but PJ has a list, which I'm gonna get into in a little while, about re-inspecting. Because at the beginning of this winter, they cleaned all the drains, and there were 17, was it 17, 19? Yeah, so here's a few on here, okay? So yeah, we're trying to basically eliminate these surprises.
Right.
So anyway,
Basically get them cleaned out so they don't get backed up.
Right.
and in this case, though, it had been,
It was
Oh,
rotting,
no.
it wasn't just backed up.
Yeah.
And
That was probably one of our older pipes for sure. I think those metal ones only are 30, 40 years. And then they're ago. And then the plastic that we use, the HDP, those are good for, so far they say 100. So,
None of us will be here to.
yeah.
maybe your children, but.
Yeah.
yeah.
So anyways, this was on Fulton Grande, a backfill that we had contracted out. So what they do is they bring all the trucks in, about 17 trucks. They actually over ordered and we were able to take 2 trucks. They gave us 2 trucks and we took it to the yard for basically our supply. So if we ever run into any backfill problems that we can handle, we'll use that dirt and utilize it there where we need it. So yeah, they come in and just start dropping dirt in all the areas where it needs to be filled in. They use an excavator and a skid steer as well to start filling in all the areas down the roadway. And then they, after they start filling in the areas, they go around and just compact it. They have this attachment on the excavator, kind of looks like a little rolling wheel. That they just roll it over the dirt and get it nice and compacted. And they also use the tracks of the skid steer and or excavator to compact it as well. They also did, there were some nearby culverts in the area that were backed up. They also pumped those out and got all the dirt out. So that way water won't ever start running back on that roadway right there. That's water is supposed to go into some of our culverts. And we also, when we were over there with Raj, we also dug out one of the culverts as well. So help the water basically keep off our backfill there. And I had one more, it's not, it's on my PowerPoint that was late. It was a asphalt job done by NPG also on via Santa Rosa, close to Via Vaquero, probably about 0.2 miles from Via Vaquero. It was between Via Vaquero and Via Peregrino, I believe that's how you say it. Yeah. So we called them out. It was a pretty big breaking of the road and starting to form a big pothole. We did go out there and patch it ourselves, but give it some stability for MPG to get out there. We used about 15 bags of our temporary asphalt to basically just keep it steady, divide the time to get out there and help us replace that. So yeah, they ripped out the old asphalt there, compacted that base layer and then threw some new asphalt over and laid it down and rolled it, and it looks nice now. All right. Pictures for you guys. Unfortunately, I had different pictures than what was in the packet here as well. So that was it for emergency repairs.
I think that was quite enough. That's super cool.
Just your average month. Huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anything more?
No,
Okay.
you did a great job.
Yes, definitely covered all the details here. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda K, acceptance of Foley Ranch. Mr. Evans.
So I think I can start this one off. So
Okay.
yes, so basically, Foley Ranch is a road for basically a new couple lots, it's access right there off of Toronto, and it's up on El Calamar, just north of Toronto there. So basically a new cul-de-sac that the county, it got permitted through the county, and then they kind of built it, and then after the fact, they kind of told us, hey, this road is gonna be accepted by the district, basically, so it was our responsibility to do all our due diligence to make sure this road was not only for the county standards, but for Duluth's CSD standards. So this was about the time we were starting up the two, the Slurry and Buena Vista jobs, so we had Raj already on contract out here, basically. So we had him go out and do the inspection, and he told us everything we needed, and he got all the, even though, you know, the best case scenario would have been, they tell us this during design, and then we can see the road being constructed and actually go out there and inspect everything. But Rod was able to kind of look at the final condition. He was able to get some, their old geotechnical studies to see what kind of pavement was laid, whether the right compaction level was there. All the stuff that you would check during construction, he had to find the reports, and he actually had them do some extra geotechnical work to make sure that the road was up to standard, basically. And in there, he put together a final report. Basically, during his inspection, he found he made his own inspection report, basically, and gave them a list of like 4 items. Most of it was just drainage items, just fixing some inlets and making sure the stormwater is being conveyed properly per the district standard plans. So with that said, he went through and he gave the recommendation to me, and I read through all the engineering and made sure everything was good. And so after that, they went through and fixed all their 4 deficient items. So they got all that done. Rod went back out there and inspected it, and everything, looked good. It's a nice road. It's per the county standards. So we gave them basically our recommendation for the approval of that. And that allowed them to file a notice, well, at least get the process started to file a notice of completion. I know, I think I just heard from Jessica about an hour ago that the notice of completion is in the process of getting through. It's not completed right now, but it has been filed to the county. So I think we're all good with that right now. As long as it's been filed with them, that it's in the county's hands, so that's what we need to do. But so right now, we're recommending basically that we accept this road. It's all per county standards. But I just wanted, there's been another item that came up as I was driving over here, me and Jim just had a conversation about it. It's nothing that's gonna affect whether I think that whether we would accept this road or not. It's just, we got an email from SCE that they didn't put any provisions in to put their electrical conduits in right now. The good thing about that is for our code, they have to get a permit through us for any electrical conduit they place. The big thing is, of course, we're not gonna allow any aerial cables. We're not gonna allow anything. The first thing on the code is it has to be outside the pavement. If they can't go outside the pavement, they have to go in the pavement, basically. And that'd be kind of a shame because they didn't catch that beforehand. They placed brand new pavement, now they might have to rip up that pavement and place conduit. This is all hearsay. They could be able to place it on the side of the road, but based on what we've seen out there, they're not gonna have much room. Because also,
right?
no, there will be no poles. That's our code spells that out clearly. So that's a good thing. They have, before they can place any electrical conduit, they have to come to us for permission. So we have to review that before we do it. SE did their due diligence and reached out to us to make sure that we were aware of this. But we were not, and that goes back to it'd be really nice if we've seen these county roads before they were being built, but that's just unfortunately not the way that it turned out. But the good thing, we had Rod Jeff go up there and inspect, make sure it was all per the standard.
There's no homes out there.
I don't know.
They're gonna sell
Right
lots.
now, they're gonna
They're
start
gonna sell
selling
lots.
lots.
So there's no water either.
There is water. Raj checked that for me today.
Okay,
Fine.
So,
there's just no electricity. Is
there's
that
no
it?
electricity.
But there is water.
Yeah, so what I expect is another, whoever buys, guarantee you they'll sell a lot right at the end of the cul-de-sac. And then that person is gonna have to pay to underground it all the way. And so I just wanted to bring this up tonight because I see the applicant is there, or Steve.
Yeah.
That, you know, it's fine, the county approved it, they're the land use agency. I would approve it as city, that would be sent back to planning, okay? Put the utilities in under
And then do it.
and then,
Right.
you know, they could go to Edison and whatever, but they didn't do that. That's a county way they need business. They let that stuff go. And the same problem we have with that somebody wanting to get a variance.
Right.
Same issue, okay? But, so this applicant is just doing what everybody else has done and what the county and the other side. So I just thought it would be good to have this little discussion because these meetings are permanent taped, right? And in 5 years, when somebody bought one of these lots and is in here upset, okay? They need to disclose this, you know, that there are no utilities in the street, which is common. Right, but, you know, I don't see it because my background, cities and just don't let that stuff go, but.
Right.
Anyway, so it's on the record now that there's gonna be issues. And in looking at the photos, you and I were talking, I didn't have these in front of me, but I think when we were talking to Ron, he had him in the phone too. Ron, there's adequate.
Yeah, and they're
room to underground. In the park, the shoulder parkway, whatever. So I'm not as concerned, but it's going to cost a lot of money. And whoever is having the front end, is gonna be real concerned,
it
but,
is.
whatever, you know. So, but at
There are
least,
comments in the letter that we received requesting the to take over the maintenance of the roads regarding utilities.
As far as utilities, that'd be the utility purveyor that would. maintain
I had
that.
thought that I had read in the letter that utilities were in place.
So that again, the water and that, but I understand that SE has not installed any electrical conduit at that point, but utilities could be any of the other. It doesn't necessarily say that all utilities, I guess. I have to read through the language of the letter, but I know for a fact, and just based on that conversation, that they don't have electricity out there right now, but there are utilities in place. They're not gonna rip that up for every utility. There could be,
for the
you know, water.
water and electric, because there's no gas.
Yeah.
That's-
It could be, yeah, okay, because it's gonna be septic, so.
Yeah.
Well, owner equivalent would need to be in also, I would think. Both lines are equivalent.
Oh, right, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm wrong.
And that would all be, yeah, installed.
But it looks to me like they can go down the park.
And again, if they have, and this is all just in case they try, they don't have the room, they try to say that they need to put it in the roadway, or they will try to put up aerial poles. Just want that discussion made, that's strictly the code is not gonna allow, any aerial poles and boards. If there's option is gonna be to go on the parkway, if they, for some reason, they can't make that work, and they prove that it's technically feasible, then they have to go on the road.
So how many lots are there?
I think
Eight. And so the owner of this is now going to pay each lot and an allotment to the district.
Correct.
Okay. Not one, not just one, but eight. Okay.
I'm sorry, it only mentions the water lines.
Okay,
Okay.
And I guess we just didn't catch that.
Yeah.
But then I just didn't want to make sure we caught it. So this morning, an email, just letting you know. But that's pretty standard, like the one we just dealt with last year. And then it just becomes economics. Oh, Gina, she may be able to add some information.
I would just say that, if there's no electric, just make sure the realtor discloses it.
Great, okay. And that's kind of why we're having this discussion.
Correct, protect the
Because,
field.
we're recommending disclosure. And when people come to our counter saying, I can't afford that, we're gonna say, hey, here, we show you the tape.
Because it's a real pretty street, and it looks like everything's in place.
Yeah. I think they'll sell their lots. We have no customers. On new streets. Yeah, it comes out the same.
So again, there's no issue right now, but just in case in the future it comes up, we've had, discussion, and if they can't put it in the parkway, they're not gonna do area, they're not gonna. If they rip up that street, it's gonna be their responsibility to make it look as it was, so we can't just put a Swiss cheese up the roadway. So that'll be brought back to the actual condition of the roadway, so that's kind of the discussion we just wanted to make sure we had. But other than that, everything looks good. They fixed everything that Rod had on his punch list, so I think you're recommending the approval, the acceptance of the road in the district, and I guess that's concluded my.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No, we reviewed this in committee and as far as we supported it.
Yeah, we thought the electric was in, but
Okay,
still.
Okay, good. Well, like we said, we got it recorded now, so great. Okay, so consideration of resolution number 2303, accepting Foley Ranch Court into the maintained streets and road system. Motion to approve?
Yes.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, Bowman?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Alexander? Lawson? Aye. Roberts? Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stein. Okay, moving on. Agenda L, traffic matters. Mr. Steve.
So as you know, we've been working on the traffic study update the last few months. And so tonight, we're just summarizing what I would classify kind of as the low hanging fruit that we discussed with the engineering committee. And so we'll fly through those and just repeat basically, but just to refresh your memory. Next slide, please. So as we talked about Sandia Creek, now the gate closed, really don't think I have a punch list would be to kind of obtain that code. Second line.
You can share with all of us.
Next slide. Vivo, we talked about advisory curve signs and maybe initiating a speed limit on that section there. Also, to maybe send a letter to the adjacent agency about maintaining that dirt road a little better for our residents when they do have to use it. Next slide. Los Gatos, we talked about regrading shoulder at the top of the hill so the cars can turn around. Advisory speed signs on the first curve and flashing radar sign with the license plate reader. Next slide. On Duluth Road, which we don't maintain, but the county does, we suggested at the westerly end that they could paint edge lines for our drivers. The rest of Duluth from Carancha or Cameron is all got edge lines. So this westerly section could have that. And we also already sent in a request. I talked with the county engineer a week or so ago, and they are working on the request for a 35-mile speed limit. So we'll see how that comes out. And then also on this, on the other end, the easterly end, we talked about at the committee that those markers on the embankment edge at nighttime are only lighting up for traffic going what I'll call westbound or up the hill. There's no reflectivity on the embankment at all going down the hill dark. So that, and maybe add some striping on the few sections that are paved in that area, have no striping at all either. So
that the dirt road?
Yes.
That's the beginning of the dirt road. So,
Striping on the dirt road?
no, there's this, the paved section between,
Yeah, I know where it is. So,
Capistrano, and that section doesn't have any stripes.
okay,
You said you could add that, give you a little more positive guidance
right.
to follow, during inclement weather and things like that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chuck.
Yeah, we discussed this in committee meeting on the 14th. And the widening or moving inland a bit from the hillside on Camino Estrella. I'm gonna say it right. Camino Estrella.
The street.
The street. Was something that we believed was appropriate. We also believe that the signs on Moscatos and turnaround are appropriate. However, at this point, we don't have current estimates for the work to be done. We had some earlier when there was other construction companies working in the area. It could be different now, so we're looking for some funding or some costing
Okay.
that would be current. And then we also want to look particularly at the Camino Estrella. Hillbillies don't have these. And put that in context with the rest of the work we're going to be looking at.
Okay,
So it may or may not be appropriate to do that at this point in time.
Okay.
We think it should be on the list to consider. We think the sign and turnaround are probably more imminent, but we need to get the actual cost and numbers to present to the board.
very good. Thank you.
And then we'll go through the second half of the report there. Okay, so this is just updates some of the things that we are doing in the rain. We finally got Marietta to paint that red curb outside the driveway here, so employees and board members and guests can now get in and out without over a parked car parked in that red zone. Next slide. Oh, going the wrong way. This was one of the issues that we had on Avenue Delta. That was the fence that was put up about 5 feet off the edge. We sent them a letter, worked with them, got them to cooperate, and next slide. And that's fine. So,
Is he going to put up a fence?
Right.
Will he be putting up a fence?
no.
He decided not to do it.
He's put it about 10 feet towards his property, but that's our property.
Yeah.
No, I know, but is he going to put up a fence? That's just a question.
We don't know.
Well,
I think probably. They wanted it there in the first.
Well, we'll see. They haven't asked. This is another example of what we're working with. We have an owner whose hill slide is filling up our street with all their mud. So we want to work with them on cleaning up the mud. It's not here to reach up. Protect it so it doesn't slide down again in the future. That's ongoing. Next slide. Another one here. He dropped a bunch of gravel on the shoulder, on the gas. Back up. Escondido. As you can see, it was about 4 feet into the roadway, and of course, no reflectivity on it at night or anything like that, so hopefully you don't run into it. We got them to at least get it off the street, but they still got it on our shoulder, so we're taking this one very slow, apparently. We'll keep sending letters to try to get their cooperation, or we'll send TJ out there to steal their.
No, just store. Just- it's- yeah.
For you. Next slide. And as you heard, the project that was completed with all the striping and stuff like that, so that's been done. We've been following up on a few other driveway visibilities and things like that, so that's kept us moving throughout the month. And the last item, have a picture. We'd like to put entrance signs to the community at 3 locations. One is you're coming up the hill in Rancho, California, right at the Temecula city limit. One is you're coming up Duluth Road from Murrieta side. One is you're coming in Duluth Road from the Fallbrook, San Diego side. And so the sign, if you look behind you, is the sign that we're proposing. The size of the sign is just over there. It's a little bit smaller, so it fit posts that are already out there. And that's so. With your blessing, we'll proceed ahead with that.
I have a question. The one coming from the San Diego side, is that on Duluth Road or Sandia Creek?
Duluth Road.
Duluth Road. So you guys aren't gonna put one on Sandia Creek coming in that way? Because that would be another entrance from, yeah. 'Cause
Just beyond the gate.
Yeah, we're starting out with these, if,
Okay.
you know, let us know if you wanna, you know.
People are coming out of that.
Just where the county line is there,
Yeah,
yeah.
you got the
Where
county.
the pavement turns to be good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very good.
right before.
Right on the line.
Yeah, right on the line there. It would,
With good pavement.
it'd be helpful because a lot of people don't know they entered to lose right there, so that'd be good.
Sure, we can make that happen.
What size poles are these going on?
They're 2-inch by 2-inch square poles. Metal,
No.
steel. And they'll be on 2 posts.
Yeah.
Because of the size.
And are we putting
Yeah, lots.
this one, going up the hill in Rancho County? That's gonna be behind the Temecula sign, correct, on the same post?
And you're going down the hill, and you see the state of Temecula lemon.
Right.
The back side of that sign on the, will be, is where we'll post that.
Oh, okay.
We'll use their poles and
Okay, great.
install it on the back side of their sign.
Fortunately, this is not back in the hills where it came from. That orange would make a perfect target for sighting in your deer rifle. I don't think the stop sign back there doesn't have 5 bullet holes.
Very good.
You've seen a few of them on our stuff and stuff, too. We used to practice stuff.
Okay. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alrighty, let's move on. Agenda M, road maintenance and field crew report, Mr. Kenseth.
All right, so it seems like my presentation is still not loading for some reason. My back screen slides for you guys, I guess. The one thing I forgot to mention for the NPP emergency repair, we actually were able to utilize the grinding that they use. I asked them, I saw them putting it in the chart, I was like, where are you guys taking that, those grindings that, cause I know of a backfill that we need to do on Avenue de Oro. And he's like, oh, so we gotta go to a dump, and then after we go dump it there, then we can finally go pick up that asphalt. I was like, how about I help you out and you bring that down to Avenue de Oro, and then you can just go on your way and go pick up, the asphalt, so you guys get done faster. And I said that works with them, so, we utilized, that material that they ripped up on, Via Santa Rosa for a backfill on Avenue del Oro. It was about, it wasn't very big, like as you guys saw in Volta Grande, it wasn't 1,000 feet or 3 feet deep. It was only about 50 feet and maybe a foot deep. So we filled in that edge of roadway. So that way water doesn't start making its way into the asphalt. So we filled that in and compacted it. So that's all good on Avenue Del Oro now. We also were doing more sign maintenance, replacing those wood posts. The rain also wasn't helping out. It was loosening up that soil, which is causing it for them to fall down, and we placed the wood posts just because they're starting to rot at the bottom as well, and substitute them with the metal posts as well. Due to the rain, we also had some more mud cleanup. We were able to use our skid steer to get that mud out of the way so we can actually see the lines on the road or the stop bar that which the mud was covering. Did some tree trimming on the Buenos Campos. Got that tree out of the way, chipped it up so it wasn't in the roadway anymore. And then we also had an emergency that we did on San Diego Creek. A tree fell down right at the corner of Avenue Del Oro and San Diego Creek. It was only luckily it was only blocking one lane, so we didn't have to basically stop traffic. We could just send them around to the other lane. We got the tree out of the lane, the one lane, within probably 15 minutes, and traffic began to just flow regularly, and we just did our work on the side of the road, finished cutting it up as much as we could and getting it fixed as well. And we were also doing some more culverts that were getting clogged. We also unclogged those as well, just from dirt getting washed in there and just some occasional leaves or tumbleweeds that would get washed up in there from either wind or rain. And that's it for me. You guys have any questions? Yeah.
And this is just so if I see a tree that hasn't fallen, but it looks like it's, really, do you want me to make you aware of it, just so, okay, just so you know?
You just go ahead and
Okay, yeah, because I didn't want to, but this tree keeps going. It's going, it keeps going a little further.
especially, we don't want that lucky
You've
summer.
already done one, two of those, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, actually the one on Buenos Campos here, that one was starting to lean. We just
Okay.
need to get that out of the way.
Okay.
So, yeah, we do that.
Because in my travels, I see a lot of it, so.
Yeah.
Are there any issues with if there are oak trees cutting?
No.
No issues, they don't move. Yeah, I thought there was an issue with cutting oak trees.
You need to talk to me on an oak tree.
Yes.
Because I'm from that part of the world where they invented all these oak
Right.
regulations.
Right.
I can usually interpret, because we have had, since I've been here a few times, and we've done it for.
Okay.
For long.
Okay,
But yeah, these oaks are technically protected.
right.
Not to the degree of other areas, like Thousand Oaks where I'm from. I mean, they got protections, like, those trees have a lot of rights. I checked that, I don't know, when I got
Save
here.
the vote.
Yeah.
If it ends up to be 999 oaks, somebody's in trouble. If it ends up to be 999 oaks, someone else.
We tried that one weekend and 28 oak trees disappeared on the property he was going before the planning commission to develop. I think he's still in jail. Because those trees are hundreds of years old.
Yes.
That did not go over, and he went to jail. Yeah.
I love the tree.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. Nothing else to add there, Jim? Good to go? Okay. All righty, next item is going to be in committee reports, and we will kick off with the engineering.
Okay, I think we're pretty well covered that. We have the meeting on February the 14th. And of course, the information that you've seen here tonight was presented. We discussed it thoroughly and there's no reason to read more.
Yeah, pretty thorough. Thank you very much. Okay, and finance report.
Thank you very much. We met yesterday and our next meeting will be April 4th, at which time the audit will be presented to us. And at the April board meeting, the audit will be presented to the board. So now we had hoped that it was going to be either this meeting that it would be at this meeting that it would be presented to the board. Unfortunately, there were some issues. One of the reports that needed to be done wasn't ready. And so therefore, the audit isn't ready at this time, but it will be in April, and we will present it at that time. We're not presenting it in March because of my schedule. And that's why it should actually be done sometime next week or the week after, but it won't be presented to us until April. The other thing we talked about last time, I mentioned to you that we were looking at T-bills or T-bonds. And apparently it's more complicated than I recall in the distant past. But apparently there's a lot of steps you have to go through. And so we're still investigating that. And hopefully, maybe even by March board meeting, we will have something definitive in terms of investing some of our money in T-bonds. We looked at originally Banner Bank, and they seem to be overly complicated, and now we're working with Chase. We think that that's going to work out. The current LAIF, you've seen this already in one of the reports, is about 2.3%. And that's actually better than we've seen in the last few years. So it's actually pretty good at this point. We think with the T-bonds, we could be at 4.5%, or maybe a little bit more. So we're going to investigate that and move further with it. Those were the major items that we discussed.
Yeah.
I think those were the major ones.
Okay, that's our report.
Okay, very good. Alrighty, legislative committee report, SB 415. Let's see, our final letter has been prepared by the County of Riverside Transportation and Land Management Agency, coupled with the CSD district on the state highway user tax funds. It's been forwarded on to the state controller's office for review and response. And just talked to Jim a few minutes ago, maybe after, I think I said March the 7th, maybe we'll do a little follow-up with the county, see if they've heard anything. Because I believe that letter went out shortly, either on February the 7th or shortly thereafter, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll continue to keep our fingers crossed on this particular subject matter. Anything else, Jim? No? Robert? Okay. All righty, moving on. Agenda O, General Manager's Report. Mr. Emmons.
Okay, I have a few items. First, as Mr. David Sandry just mentioned, we will not be having the audit at the March meeting. And I had originally thought that perhaps we would move our meeting back that month, as we did tonight, to the 22nd. But that issue has gone away now, and so that we're just moving it up to April. So we can continue to go with the 15th. That it does, it's that odd month where engineering would happen the night before. But with what I see happening in engineering, I don't think that'll be an issue where there's some need for a wait time. So I guess I would propose we just go back to the 15th. I'm sorry I brought up, check your calendars for the 22nd, but just go back to the regular calendar. So without objection, so ordered or something. So we'll just stick to calendar.
Yes.
Regular calendar that you have for the year.
Okay.
The next item is related to Zoom. Well, let me jump back. We're getting more into maintenance. We talked a lot about maintenance and emergencies in this. Our inspector, Raj, who has been helping us tremendously this past month, because there hasn't been any work in Buena Vista, so I call Ron and say, send him my way. I got things for him to do. And he's not just inspecting. He kind of reminded me the other day I had to go to my physician assistant, who, if I didn't know better, I think she was a physician, okay? These inspectors they're kind of like mini engineers out in the field. I mean, they're making decisions and basically running the job. And the first inspector I dealt with here was a guy named Caesar. And he did the 52 projects or whatever, the FEMA jobs. And I mean, just watching him was amazing. And then Raj was new to us, but the first thing he did is make that change for $130,000 or whatever that he brought the field, which we were then able to apply to the Avenida Del Oro job that we had hoped to add. And we still came up with a surplus. So anyway, because we're moving Buena Vista down the road, and I guess I forgot to ask you if I could do this. You can give it to me. I want to borrow him or use him for some time. And this issue that keeps coming up tonight and every meeting where there's problems, we need to get to the bottom of these drains and take all of the problem drains and truly inspect them. And with all the water that's been going through them, they should be as clean as they're going to get right now. So have Raj and our crew, and Raj said that he could go through some of them and just make repairs right there on the spot, because he knows what the spec would be, and just have our guys just fix them. And then ultimately, we end up with some true opinion, professional opinion as to the drains when we're looking at our project list for next year, because that could be for repairing some culverts. So anyway, the plan would be to have him, when he has time, you guys could, he said, come down, work with our guys on the schedule, and they just go out there and get that done. So anyway, that, and in addition, one thing that came up in the beginning when he came to us, he leaned over to me one day and said, I can train your guys to do what MPG did, with that kind of repair. And so I'd like to get that done, if we could do it, just pick 2 or 3 projects and basically have him run these guys, our crew, and just walk them through it. This is how it's done. So that then unfortunately they can do it on their own. So then we can, we're trying to raise the bar and get into, these smaller repair jobs that, we contract out. It's very expensive. So anyway, the next item is Zoom and the new law, which goes into effect the end of this month. Perhaps Ward could kind of just summarize what the pandemic is over. So,
well, the AB 361 will essentially come to a close on February 28th with the governor's emergency ends on that day. So we no longer do under AB 361. There's 2 other options, though. If you, we could operate under the new law, AB 2449. It's pretty complicated, and there's certain ways in which directors can qualify to Zoom in. But if you want to make use of that, the public has to always be allowed to Zoom in on every meeting. So you essentially have to be, if a director wants to use AB 2449, there's just cause for that to use that is if you've got COVID or sickness or some type of a child care emergency. Those are times when you can use AB 2449. You can't just use it out of convenience. And even then, you can only use it like twice in a year. So it's very arduous to use it. And what we've been recommending to our districts and cities is to basically just, we still have the original Brown Act laws in place, which allows, I don't know if you remember, but back in before COVID, you could still call into a meeting as a board member. And as long as you posted the agenda, your address was put on the agenda 72 hours in advance. And you could call in, you just needed to post the agenda on your house, store, or hotel room, wherever it is you're calling in from, and allow the public to come in. It sounds weird allowing the public to come into your home, but I can tell you from experience, it never happens. So it's not as onerous as it
Pretty
sounds.
much most people didn't do it.
For the meeting.
You were obviously funeral applications.
Right.
And that's just the way it was done. And then Zoom got invented and made it so convenient, but now they're shutting that down. I don't understand. So item B here that we do every time,
Mhm.
that's gone. We don't do that anymore.
Right.
We can still Zoom.
Public can still do that.
The public, staff, anybody but you guys.
Right.
okay? And you can do it twice a year, say, I'm sick, or whatever. And do the Zoom. But beyond twice a year,
Is that twice a year for board member?
board member.
So that therefore, yeah, that's 10 times.
Right.
That's almost every month.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you could, once in a while, if you want to participate, but if you think back 3 years ago or whatever, and the
Yeah.
person couldn't be here physically on the board, they didn't. They just wouldn't.
And you have to give notice if you're going to do that. Is that correct?
That's right. You have to, there are other procedures. You have to give notice that you're gonna do it, and then the board has to vote on whether to allow you.
So we're back to the old one.
Yeah, like I said, it's arduous. It's 24/49, nobody's friend. And there's a lot of talk about going back to the legislature to try to get that fixed. Because it's confusing, it doesn't make sense.
Well, the problem is this doesn't apply to the legislature, so all these Brown Act bills that come out, if it applied to them, they would think it through. And there are always these crazy bills that relate to how we run our meetings, but they don't have to apply by anything. So, committee meetings, they can do anything they want. Legislative floor. So anyway, what I'm leading up to is, are we going, we can continue Zooming and putting the tape of the board meeting on our website and public and whatever, people can watch our meetings and we'll have a tape of it and that will be in perpetuity.
Excuse me, one other question. Can we do public comment via Zoom, or is that not appropriate?
Yes, you would need to
You
do
would still
public
do
I
comment.
see, okay.
Except for you.
Right.
It's your important.
Right.
But the public, yeah.
Okay.
And so, committee meetings are more the detail. This is a more formal meeting.
Right.
So what I'm proposing, and this will, we can put on your agenda for you to decide next month. But what I would suggest is leave the board meeting just the way it is. And there's a permanent record for 50 years. It'll still be on our website of this meeting. The committee meetings, though, we don't put on the website because it's more detailed, it's boring meeting, and so we would Zoom it so that the public can do their public comment by Zoom. The public can participate by Zoom, but we're not going to post those on as part of a permanent record. And now the law on that is if we keep the recording, it becomes public record and subpoenaable or viewable after 30 days, right?
Well, until you're allowed to destroy it after 30 days.
But I'm not sure we'll even make the tape.
But if you don't make the tape, you're not required to.
Yeah, we'll just make the tape of the board.
Right.
And then there's no issue,
Why Zoom the committee meeting if it's everything you just said it is?
public comment. So that if someone wants to talk to the engineering committee, or, the finance committee, and they can get here, they can Zoom, and they can sit and watch the meeting, just as if they attended. But we're not making that official
Taping of it.
taping in perpetuity. Because no matter what we do, even if we don't put it on our website, after 30 days, if we have it, it's public record.
In the situation which we had a month ago, I think, where the electronics weren't working, there's a power outage or something, how does that fit into the public comment? If we're not able to do the Zoom, is that an issue?
Well, like that, at your January meeting, we didn't have the taping function. I don't remember what the issue was, but the meeting still went on with Zoom. So the public could have been watching that.
I guess I'm asking if the situation existed where it was, in my location, internet is a 50% time, and we've got some fairly complicated electronics here. If we're not able to,
And then
is there
you go
an
back
issue with that?
like a week
For instance,
later.
would we reschedule the meeting because we weren't able to Zoom?
Are you just talking about the tape or the Zoom?
No, the Zoom.
The Zoom.
If the Zoom has problems during the meeting, you're supposed to stop the meeting until the Zoom gets back.
But now the new law is we're not required to Zoom at all.
But under AB 2449, if you're still allowing the public to come in under AB 2449, those laws still are in place.
So then I guess Mr. Bowman's correct. We have to stop it.
We have to stop until it,
Or have no meeting.
No meeting.
yeah, it would have to be,
Have to adjourn the meeting.
Maybe we should think about that.
if we want to do the
If we
Zoom
want to Zoom
portion,
at all.
if we're not gonna be, if we're not gonna be videotaping,
Right.
Yeah.
then perhaps,
That
because
does
you,
happen sometimes.
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah.
And I think in the past, the public that wanted to come to those meetings came and to the committee meetings and
Right.
participated.
Right.
So, another perspective is I have to be here. And if they want to come and participate, they should come and participate. Doesn't have to be by Zoom.
Right.
I think if the law were to change and, go back to what it was previously, I think we should revisit that.
That's what I'm accustomed to prior to being involved with the board, was attending the engineering
Right.
committee
Right,
meetings.
right.
Yeah, and so you're physically on site, wasn't being, that was it.
It is a detailed kind of meeting.
Yeah,
These are the tip of the iceberg after it's all the details worked out in one committee or the other.
Mhm.
So yeah, it is probably more appropriate. They meet like they used to.
Exactly.
Well, prior to COVID, there was quite a robust attendance. At the board meeting.
Yeah.
Some meetings, yes.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the people that were out there got elected.
Yeah, yeah, those are the good old days.
Okay, well, I think I have the direction and we'll put it on the agenda
Yes,
for a policy. And the policy would be committee meetings go back to the old style. And we just do sort of.
And board meetings to the old style. The same issue. No Zoom for board meetings. I mean, it's the same issue. If the Zoom goes down, we have to stop the meeting.
that's very true. That's very true, that's one to be over.
Now, we still could have, we had a gentleman who started the meeting to report, he could still do that telephonically.
That's true.
He's not a board member, it's not public comment, we're calling on it. Do that.
Even before COVID, you could have staff
Right,
call in or consultants.
right,
Yes, speaker.
So that is not subject to AB.
Right.
This is
Okay.
public.
So that would limit that availability.
Yeah.
So,
Well, give it some thought.
Yeah, let's give it some thought. We can talk about it.
so the old way was we came in, we put our name on the little thing, and then we got to talk for it for 10 minutes. That's fine.
It worked. I mean, we didn't have any issues anything prior to COVID. So, I mean, it was really pretty
I
simple.
understand, right, the people who would come in by Zoom would be those invited as a participant in the meeting.
That's correct.
Like Cyrus, for
Right.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be on the,
Makes sense.
a phone
Anyone
conference
who's there
call.
will be listening.
So Cyrus and Joanna, for example. Yeah. Okay. All righty,
Okay, we can.
Yeah.
That's the end of my
okay.
report. There's no need for a closed session.
Let's see, oh, well, we gotta go on to Mr. Simmons here, anything?
Oh, I'm sorry.
One item.
I wanted to update is we did check again on the winery, and there has been no further applications submitted to San Diego County.
Thank you for doing that.
Very good. All righty, and a change here in terms of agenda item 2. We will be moving past that. There will be no closed session. And so we'll handle the last item here, agenda R, appointment of negotiation committee. Mr. Evans.
This year is the time when we meet and confer with the Employees Association, meet and confer is a labor relations term that applies to local governments. The memorandum of understanding, which is the culmination of the meet and confer process, is up this time, June 30th of this year. In the past, the process is the board appoints a committee, the employees appoint a committee, we meet and confer. Okay, so we can prepare a draft memorandum of understanding. That's why we put the closed session on. I'm ahead of myself. That would be next time, or when your committee has something to report back to the board, moving toward an agreement between the board and the employees. So at this point, we need to kick off the process, and that would be the board has to officially appoint their negotiating committee. The last committee was the treasurer and the general manager, but the board is, who's here, these MOUs are independent, so you need to appoint a new committee for this year's process.
And it's my understanding that both you and Robert have, over the last, few years or so, have been that negotiation committee. So you all have been there and done that in terms of level of experience and what's expected here. And so I would want to hear from the rest of the board members here, but from my perspective, we have the two experts here, and I would like to suggest that we continue with those two individuals in terms of those negotiations.
You're ahead of me. I was going to suggest the same thing.
Yes, but I also like to be educated along the way here, so we're not taking you two for granted the next time around. Okay,
So we need a motion, a second, and a vote.
okay, so is there a motion to approve the negotiation committee of Mr. Evans and Dr. D'Alessandri?
Yes, I make the motion to.
Okay, you can both second, okay. Let's see, all in favor, let's see, Bowman.
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
D'Alessandri.
Aye.
Boston.
Aye.
Roberts, aye. So moved. Thank you, everybody. Unanimously approved. And just one other question. I believe you have 2 employees in terms of this you have 2 employees for this negotiation
Yeah.
process? Okay. Okay, very
So
good.
they'll wait, there. Has that been determined?
Yes, we met one time just informally,
Okay.
but our negotiators are gonna be our fearless leader over there,
Okay.
DJ, and Jessica.
Okay. That's very good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay,
And Mr. Wyatt, I forgot, Mr. Wyatt here He's made it half a year.
Oh,
So we're doing- He's doing his reviews soon, and I told him to order up lots of Kleenex now. But he's done a great job, and he's gonna get a good review. Oh, I should know that. Yeah, he'll be in the upper half, let's just put it that way. But, yeah, he's been with us, 2 weeks past 6 months or something like that.
Sounds all right.
So.
wonderful.
So with that smile on your face, you've been enjoying your time.
Oh, yeah. I'm going.
And having fun at this, well, I don't know, some of those photos there, boy, you guys look like you were up to here with some mud. That's- Well, I think you were right out there. Not be happy.
See the new uniform, see the new hats. We're going on.
Oh, yeah, I just, yeah.
Oh, it's here today or yesterday?
When are we getting ours? Yeah, definitely, keep it up on
I
it.
think one time I drove by and you guys were going.
Oh.
Still better than.
I said, I don't want to know.
Well, we're glad. I'm glad to hear that you're all very happy and you guys are doing an excellent job out there. Everybody is once again, especially right now with all this crazy weather that we're having. And also those crazy incidences that are going up there on the hill, but we're also glad that you're feeling much better too.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
I
it.
have one question before we adjourn. Sure, not gonna snow like we did several years ago.
Oh, I remember Yeah, don't even. Yeah, let's not. go
So
there.
we're not,
Yeah, let's not. go there.
I don't think so. Okay, good.
Yeah, let's hope not.
The report this afternoon that I got these emergency management
Yeah.
reports from Cal OES. And it said expected down to the snow level to be 2,000, 1,000 to 2,000.
Right, right. But
So
isn't
that
that more, is that possible closer to the desert though, in the low?
No, they were talking about southern, this area. I was thinking like where I drive in Anson,
Yeah.
it's almost 4,000 feet and it goes up to 4,300. So I don't think I'll be going home now.
I don't think so.
You guys will have to break out the snowplow.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. That was
Well, it
pretty.
goes up to about 2,000. 2,300.
The Cresta is, it's, yes,
Okay,
yes.
so we've got areas that
About
are,
800?
Yeah, yeah,
What
we
is it?
we should
My,
be,
my property's about 800.
yeah.
okay.
We're a little lower than we are, I believe.
Yeah. No,
Yes, but
definitely
that
you don't
year
want
it
to
snowed,
experience that,
we
yeah.
didn't get snow.
Oh,
No,
we
we
did, we
didn't.
got more than enough.
And
Yes,
we
used to
bought a
drive there and
house.
look at.
Yeah.
And we were not, we had not moved in and we came up the day after New Year's and saw the damage to their palm trees and then saw trees of ours that had been blown over that were leaning towards the wind and the wind just blew it over and snapped one of them and we had so much damage from that.
I had clients that couldn't get out of their driveway for 3 or 4 days.
Oh,
They were on hills, so they couldn't get out.
We were lucky, we weren't home, so if we had been home, we would have been stepping stones. Yeah, no, that's-
Debbie and Alex's problem to watch our house.
I have pictures, we can, people even sent us videos, we were out of town for the new year, so sent us videos, but we've got like over 80 palm trees and it was really scary for almost 6 months. But they pulled through, but they pulled through, so keep our fingers crossed, everybody. Alrighty, if that is it, this completes the Duluth Community Services District regular board meeting of directors. I thank everybody, this meeting is now adjourned.
All have a great trip.
Thank you.
Yeah, I get there.
Look it out, it's really good to see you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Let's not. Oh.